Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Today we are resuming the classes on Brahma Sutras. We have come up to the 12th Sutra. Today, because it has been quite a gap, we would be doing a recap on whatever we have studied till now. And I think it would also help many people who are, I suppose, new here. And we have 29 participants today. That's a very heartening thing. At the outset, I want to make certain points very clear here. The whole purpose of this study group is to understand Brahma Sutras. And this comes because of the popular notion that Brahma Sutras is a difficult text. And this notion comes because most people who carry this idea have never even opened a book on the Brahma Sutras. And those who have had the courage to venture, I call it courage because all people say that Brahma Sutras are difficult, etc. In spite of that kind of a reputation that text has, people who have tried to understand have unfortunately come across teachers who haven't been able to properly explain or make it interesting, etc. And so that is why long ago in 2019, when I was in Mayavati, Uttarakhand, Advaita Ashrama, at that time we started a study group. And somehow that went on till some sutra and it just stopped there because of various reasons. All of them were logistical reasons. And so in 2021, we started another study group from here in Kozhikode. And now that also went into kind of a pause mode and then we are restarting. Mainly the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna or the followers of the Ramakrishna Vivekananda tradition would like to know, why do we need to study the Brahma Sutras? This is another question. We have the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, undoubtedly the master work in a very simple language, lucid language, which is all that one needs for spiritual life. There's no doubt about it. So why do we need to study the Brahma Sutras? The very purpose of studying the Brahma Sutras is to make our convictions firm. Just like when we erect a pillar the kind, not the kind which is used in buildings, but the kind used in fences. We try to shake it left and right, and then we ensure that it is firmly grounded. Similarly, our understanding of Vedanta, our understanding of the ultimate reality has to be firmly grounded. And for that, and only for that, we study the Brahma Sutras. It is definitely not to claim one's scholarship, because that defeats the purpose. The purpose is to understand the ephemeral or impermanent nature of this universe which includes our bodies, minds, prana, buddhi, anandamaya kosha, etc. So the best testimony to the simplicity of the text is the masterly commentary written by Acharya Shankara or Bhagavad Shankaracharya. Also his introduction to the Brahma Sutras, which does not borrow any scriptural quotation. It is based purely on common sense. That's his masterly work. And it is called popularly Adhyasa Bhashya, a commentary on superimposition, one could say. And the premises of that Adhyasa Bhashya we will revisit now. He says the whole problem starts when we distinguish between I and you, or we and you all. And this difference is the cause of all problem. And what we do, we try to superimpose the qualities of I or the property of I onto something that is not I. We try to superimpose the rest, means they, and the properties of them onto something which is not they or them. He says that just like darkness and light never go together, we try to superimpose that which is conscious and the properties of that which is conscious on that which is not conscious, and vice versa. Vice versa being a term which is rarely used nowadays, so means the opposite is also true. That means we try to impose the not conscious on the conscious and the properties of not conscious on the properties of conscious. So we basically try to create a confusion, and it is illogical. It can never happen. It is completely beyond logic that darkness and light can exist in the same place. Not possible. Either there is darkness or there is light. You cannot have darkness and light together. Even though that is the case, in reality, in the world, across us, around us, we see this happening all the time. So this is natural. That means what Shankaracharya is saying is confusion is quite natural to us. So the cause of this confusion is, of course, ignorance. Cause of confusion is ignorance, and this confusion comes very natural to us. And so Shankaracharya says the cause of all suffering is this, and he calls it falsity, false knowledge. And the goal of studying Brahma Sutras, why do we need to study Vedanta? That is the question. He answers. He says we need to study Vedanta to get rid of this confusion, to get rid of suffering, to get rid of suffering. So for that we need to study Vedanta. He's very clear about it. So we are studying Vedanta not because we get some brownie points or we get some kind of promotion or something. We are studying Vedanta because whatever we do in life, just think of it, we do to get rid of suffering or to attain happiness, or as many people say, to attain peace of mind. The study of Vedanta is done exactly for that. Now, towards the end of Adhyasa Bhashya, Bhagavad Shankaracharya Deva, he says that the reason why we have this suffering, there are two. Some Dr. Raman Agrawala has a question here. He says, what is false knowledge? Is it a vritti? And is it true? That is his question. So false knowledge. Why do we call it false knowledge? Let me first address that question. False knowledge is much more basic than a vritti. It is not, you cannot call it vritti. Vritti means any thought is vritti. But false knowledge is that which is the basis of various thoughts, basis of the understanding or wrong understanding of this universe. So false knowledge, is it true? Kind of oxymoronic question that is. False, is it true? Like that. It's false knowledge. Definitely it is not true. But why do we use this word mithya? Why don't we simply say it is false? It is untrue. Why don't we say it is asatya? Why do we say it is mithya? Or why don't we say that it is all imagination, etc.? The answer is that it is not impossible. Just like the classical example given, Akasha Kusuma, a flower on the sky, is impossible. Or a horn of a hare, Shasha Shringa, Shringa meaning horn, is impossible. Like that, this is not impossible. So it is not alika. Alika, it's called alika, impossible, that which is not possible at all. It is not impossible. It is that which is experienced, but it is false. That is very important. Shankaracharya in his Viveka Chudamani, he says that you cannot say that it is not existing. You cannot say it is existing. It is anirvachaniya. It is inexplicable. It cannot be explained in words. So that is false knowledge. Like we know that this universe is unreal. So then why it is false knowledge? Because it is knowledge of something that is unreal. It is knowledge of something that is unreal. That is why it is false. So the knowledge that you get is not real. It is not going to stand the test of time or the test of boundaries of space or the test of causation. It is limited by time, space, and causation, whatever knowledge you get through the sense organs and the mind. And therefore, that is a false knowledge. Basically, Vedanta says that whatever you understand, even this class on Brahma Sutras, is all false. So, I invite you to go into a study of that which is false. To understand that whatever you perceive by the senses, through the mind, is false. And so, negatively, whatever you don't perceive or what you can't perceive through the senses or the mind is the only real knowledge. Now, here, the question was, how do we get suffering? And towards the end of Adhyasa Bhashya, that is his introduction to his commentary on the Brahma Sutras, Shankaracharya says that we get suffering because of two notions that we hold. What are these notions? He says, kartrutva. Kartrutva, to put it quite philosophically, is the idea of agency. Or to put it not so philosophically, it is the idea of being the doer. Kartrutva. We are always obsessed with this idea that we are the doer. That is also one reason why most of us cannot overcome the past, because it haunts us. I did some mistake. Kartrutva. It is because of kartrutva. The idea that you are the doer. Now, is that idea right? Is that the correct idea? Are you the doer? To put it plainly, if you were the doer, you could do whatever you wanted to. Are you able to do that? The answer is, of course, we all know, no. You can, if you tap your infinite potential, as Swami Vivekananda untiringly said. But are we able to do that? at this level, wherever we are, then the answer is no. So definitely we are not the doer. And when we say we, who is that we? It's nothing but a combination of body, mind, prana, etc. Definitely we are referring to that combination as we. On a day-to-day basis, you rarely come across a person who refers to Brahman as I, who is saying Aham Brahmasmi. I am talking about the Brahman. If you come across such a person, then automatically, by definition, Brahman does not do anything. So then you will not be the doer. So essentially, when you say you are the doer, you are indicating body, mind, prana, buddhi and anandamaya kosha, which is not your reality, which is not your true personality. So then again the question comes, are you the doer? So you are not the doer. And attached to this perception or notion that you are the doer, we all have this idea that we are the experiencer. So not only I am the doer, but I am also the experiencer. So I cook something and I eat it. Sometimes because no one else will eat it. But anyway, I cook something and I eat it. And so I am the doer and I am also the experiencer. And these two ideas are based on the ideas of aham and mama, the ideas of ego. Ego, not the ripe ego or mature ego, as Sri Ramakrishna says in Bengali, Paka Ami, not that kind of ego, but ego which has not understood its identity. An ego which has an identity crisis, you can say. So that ego, that ego keeps on harping, I did it, I am the doer. That is the problem here. And mine. So this is my experience. Also, you can extend it to the idea of position. So two ideas, ahankara, mamakara, egotism and attachment. So the goal of Vedanta, according to Bhagavata Shankaracharya, is to get rid of these two notions. How would you get rid of these two notions? By going to the very basic concept of who you are. If you know who you are, then you understand that you can't have name, you can't have form, you can't definitely have any action. You can't, of course, have any positions. So the causes of suffering, that is the idea of agency or the idea that you are the doer or you are the experiencer, these causes come because of not understanding your true self. The goal of Vedanta is to teach you who you are. But how would Vedanta teach you? Because we know anything that is created is destructible. All that which has a birth has death. So how do we know who we are? That is the question. So we don't know who we are as knowledge about identity. It's also negative. We get rid of ignorance and our knowledge, which is intrinsic, which is always there. Just like a diamond which has been covered by, say, some dirt or cow dung or something, and the diamond is not visible. Similarly, our true nature, that is Atman or Brahman, which is self-evident, Swata Siddha, Swata Pramana. That means it does not need any evidence. That is there, and that will come out if, or that will be understood if the coverings are removed. And so the goal of Vedanta is to remove these coverings. As Sri Ramakrishna so nicely said, you remove a thorn by using another thorn. So all these scriptures, etc., can be equated with a thorn, which help us in removing the thorn of ignorance. So it is Ajnana Nasha, or destruction of ignorance, which is our goal. Once you do that, your true nature, that is Atman, which is Satchit Ananda, that means it is always present, it is eternally existing, eternally conscious, and eternally blissful. So the Brahma Sutras, they have been classified into 4 chapters. And many people have different numbers of Brahma Sutras. That is, how do you read the sutras? Sutras are short texts which have tremendous meaning in a code form. So you can call them formulas or codes. The correct English translation is aphorism. But code is also good. So in that, you kind of store as much of information as possible. I would request all of you who can to switch on your video, because of this COVID, we already have had enough of this kind of virtual. In fact, I went to a function in Delhi recently, and there many people were like, "Oh, Swami Narasimhananda." I said, "Yes, very much. I am the culprit." Then they were like, "We all have seen you virtually. Now this is the first time we are seeing you really," etc. These kind of conversations are going to happen. So 4 chapters, and every commentator, or most of the commentators, have grouped these sutras in different manner. Thereby, they have ended up having different counts of the total number of sutras. So for some, it is 540. For some, it is even less, 530 something. As far as Shankaracharya is concerned, Adi Shankaracharya or Bhagavad Shankaracharya, he has classified them in such a way that they total 555. 555 sutras grouped into 4 chapters, each chapter having different sections called adhikaranas, dealing with different topics. That is the nature of this text. Traditionally, the first 4 sutras, they are considered to be an introduction to the 4 chapters. So the first sutra is the introduction to the first chapter, etc., like that. Or not first chapter, first and second sutras, you can say, introduction to the first chapter, and the second sutra, third sutra, fourth sutra, like that. So the first sutra, so we will have a quick recap of also the 4 sutras. So traditionally, most of the people study, even those who study Brahma Sutras, they study only the first 4 sutras called the Chatusutri. And if you go to the YouTube channel, you will find that there is a playlist where it is written Brahma Sutra God Formulas. I call them God Formulas. Brahma is loosely translated as God, and Sutras also loosely translated as formulas, just to give a kind of a new twist to the story. So God Formulas 2021, you will find a playlist, and there we have already, as I said earlier, we have gone up to 12th Sutra. Now, the first sutra, so the Chatusutri has been already covered. If one understands the import of the Chatusutri and the Adhyasa Bhashya completely, one understands and is convinced of it, then that person is understood to have attained the knowledge of Brahman. So just because you understand, it does not mean you have attained the knowledge of Brahman. It means the literal understanding would not help. You should have a conviction. And how do you know that you have understood or you have got the knowledge of Brahman, you have become a knower of Brahman? That you will know. Much like a person who feels the pangs of hunger knows that one is hungry. Like that you will know. So if you don't know that, that means be sure, you can be rest assured that you have not become a knower of Brahman. I don't know why I said rest assured. Some people are afraid of losing ignorance. Again, Swami Vivekananda talks about it in his Jnana Yoga lectures. Now, first sutra is Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Atah Brahma Jigyasa. Atha means now. Atah, therefore, there is the desire. Jnatum Ichcha Jigyasa. Desire to know is called Jigyasa. Desire to know Brahman. Here, Atha can mean so many things. In fact, this same kind of structure has been used in Patanjali Yoga Sutras also. Atha Yoga Anushasanam. That's the first sutra. Also, in the Dharma Sutras by Jaimini, Mimamsa Sutras, Athato Dharma Jigyasa, there it is used. So the word Atha is now. But here, Shankaracharya says that it means, it implies that you have prepared yourself to venture into the study of Vedanta. That is what it means. So, Atha, according to Shankaracharya, means Sadhana Chatushtaya. What is Sadhana Chatushtaya? Sadhana Chatushtaya means the 4 qualities one should have, or the 4 kinds of sadhana or spiritual practice one needs to do to understand one's true self or to understand Vedanta. So we all know Sadhana Chatushtaya, most of you might be knowing, but still we will just have a quick recap. First one is Viveka. Viveka means Nitya Anitya Vastu Vivekaha. That Viveka means discernment, the ability to tell the difference between that which is Nitya, that means that which is real, and that which is unreal. As I told you, whatever we see, whatever we can perceive through the 5 senses and the mind are all unreal. So that which we cannot perceive is only real. So constantly discerning that is Viveka. It is called discernment. Then comes Vairagya. Vairagya means what? Vairagya means dispassion. There is so much of discernment, dispassion. Dispassion, you're not attached to anything, or you don't want anything. Iha amutra falabhoga viraga. Not only you don't want anything in this lifetime, you don't want anything after this lifetime. Basically, you don't want any kind of results, any kind of fruits. That is dispassion. So you're not attached to anything. What is the goal of not being attached to anything? Sri Ramakrishna, again, in a very simple language says, in Bengali he says, Ishware Anurag, Vishaye Virag. One has an attraction, or one leans towards God, at the same time goes away from sense objects. Vishaya means sense objects. All our problems are because of sense objects. Senses are drawn towards sense objects, and then we become senseless. This is what happens. So sense, that we lose all sense because of sense objects. Attract senses towards them. And that is not one sense. We have 5 senses perfectly there to make it all nonsense. So that is why in Viveka Chudamani, Shankaracharya says that, you see, he gives examples of 5 creatures or living beings who die or who are destroyed because of their being attached to one sense object. And he says, just think of the plight of human being who is attached to all 5 sense objects. So it's really a dangerous situation. So here, the goal of dispassion is to attain one's true knowledge, or knowledge of one's true personality, or to attain the knowledge of God, or to realize God. There are many ways one can express this thing. Otherwise, just imagine a person is dispassionate, a person is discerning every time that this is unreal, this is unreal, this is not real, and also is not bothered about God, then that life would be so meaningless. A life which is aligned to the sense organs is definitely meaningless. But a life which is not aligned to the sense organs and also not aligned to God is completely useless. Means you are not even experiencing the sense organs. So that also one should be very careful. And this happens particularly to people who are in the initial stages of spiritual life. They have given up all, or they are trying to give up all worldly things, but they are not yet having the love for God, or the hankering, or the yearning for God, or yearning for one's true nature, to understand one's real nature. So that should not happen. I am dispassionate towards the world because I am passionate towards God. That's very important. I am discerning. I am saying that this is unreal because I know that which is real, that is God, Brahman, Atman. That is the goal. And after these two things, there comes what is called Shama, Dhamma, Adi, Shatka, Sampatti. 6 treasures of sadhana, starting from Shama, Dhamma, etc. The Shama means control of the mind, Dhamma means control of the sense organs, and then you have Uparama, withdrawing oneself from sense objects. Very important for people who have lifestyle diseases. If you have heart disease, don't go near cholesterol, like that. So even if you are not into spiritual life, even if you want to have healthy life, some amount of Uparama is necessary. That is withdrawing yourself from sense objects. That is necessary. Otherwise, you are going to have a very bad health. Uparama. Then you have Titiksha. This is again another very important aspect of spiritual life, where Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi and even Sri Ramakrishna, they have said, Shaw, means forbear, forbear, forbear. Just forbearance. Titiksha. What is Titiksha? At all circumstances, you have to forbear all kinds of suffering which you experience without reacting, also without thinking about them, and without lamenting. The reaction part, most of the times we are able to do, not react, because of compulsion probably. But lamenting, not lamenting, and not thinking about it, not worrying, that part is very difficult, and that's what we have to do. Then comes Shraddha. Shraddha is, I translated, though Swami Vivekananda said it is not possible to translate it, but the closest translation could be sincerity of purpose. And faith in oneself, faith in one's teacher, faith in what is being taught. That is what is Shraddha. So Shraddha involves a lot of faith. Much faith is there. That, and also sincerity of purpose. That is Shraddha. Then after Shraddha comes Samadhana. Samadhana means concentration, or as some people would like to call it, focus. Samadhana is very important. So here, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana, and also Uparama, they would come if one has, to a great extent, tried to control one's mind and the sense organs. So Shama and Dhamma will automatically lead to these aspects of spiritual life. If one does not control or restrain one's mind or sense organs, it is impossible that one will be able to practice uparama, withdrawing one's mind from the sense objects, or titiksha, forbearance, or shraddha, or samadhana. As it is enumerated at the end of these 6 qualities, samadhana or concentration would come naturally if all the other spiritual practices have been practiced. So Shankaracharya says that this athato, uparama and uparati, Dr. Raman is asking, are the same thing? Both are the same thing. So Shankaracharya says that this athato, atha means it implies these qualities which one should have. So we saw the first 3 qualities, that is Viveka, Vairagya, Shama, Damadi, Shatka, Sampati. The 4th quality and the most important quality is Mumukshutva. In fact, some would say that Mumukshutva, if you have Mumukshutva, that is the desire to get moksha. Moksha means mukti. Mukti means what? There are 2 definitions I would like to share with you here. Mukti is the cessation of repeated birth and death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi mananam, etc. Shankaracharya says, so getting free from this cyclical repeated birth and death, that is mukti. Holy Mother Sarada Devi gives another example or another definition of mukti. She says nirvasanai mukti in Bengali. That means she says desirelessness itself is, it is desirelessness, that is mukti, nirvasana, having no desire. So somehow I feel it is very easy. Just don't have any desire. It's not very simple. So don't think about coming again and going. Some people have allergy towards this idea of rebirth. I don't know why. They think it is very scientific to not have faith in rebirth. But as Swami Vivekananda said, there are many scientific superstitions. So there are many constants, there are many hypotheses, there are many principles you blindly follow while studying science. But of course, nobody questions them because then it will not be scientific. So many people, those people who don't like to talk about or think about rebirth, for them, I think this definition will be good. Desirelessness is mukti. Desirelessness is mukti. So if you can attain the state of complete desirelessness, you don't have any desire. That means you have become mukta. You have become. So no desire means no desires. And what kind of extent these desires? Holy Mother Sarada Devi says that even if you have a desire of eating a rasagulla, of course, because she comes from Bengal, she is talking about rasagulla. Had somebody been from Kozhikode, maybe halwa or biryani, I don't know, depending on the taste. So if you have the desire to eat one rasagulla, even if you have that much desire, you will have to be reborn again. So that kind of desirelessness, complete desirelessness, not even one rasagulla or bhelpuri or vada pav, whatever you want to eat. Nothing. Completely zero desires. That is mukti. And mumukshutva means a desire to attain that mukti. Moksha. A desire to attain moksha. That is mumukshutva. So according to Shankaracharya, all these 4 qualities which are required of a spiritual aspirant by the scriptures, having those qualities is what is indicated by the word atha. And since you have these qualities ataha, therefore now next you have Brahma Jigyasa. So you become eligible to have these Brahma Jigyasa, knowledge of, or the desire to, Jigyasa means desire of knowledge, desire to know. So desire to know, you get the desire to know Brahman only after you have these spiritual qualifications. Now, when we hear that, we'll say, yes, we now understand why we did not study Brahma Sutras, because anyway, we have not got these qualifications. Close the book and finish what all this Brahma Sutra got formula. So there, Shankaracharya and also later on other Acharyas, they comment that this need not be in a one follows the other format. It can be simultaneous. It need not be that you have all these qualities and then you try to study Brahma Sutras or Vedanta, or you try to have the desire to know Brahman. It should not be in that order. It need not be in that order. You can also have it simultaneously. So both things are going on continuously. That is the idea. Now we go to the second sutra. That is, first one was Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Second one is Janmadyasya Yataha. So here also the nature of Brahman. What is Brahman? Yataha Asya Janmadi. Asya means of this, means this universe. In the Taittiriya Upanishad, which is what Bhagavad Shankaracharya quotes, it has been told that all the jivas and also non-living, living and non-living things of this universe, they all come from Brahman, and then they also grow, etc. And then they, after death, they all go back to Brahman. That mantra is there in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So the idea is that whatever you see in this universe is because of Brahman. Because of Brahman. The source is because of Brahman. Interestingly, in the 4 sutras, Chatursutris, 2 sutras talk about this. One is this, another one is Shastra Yonitvat. Just the 3rd sutra. Shastra Yonitvat. So what is Shastra Yonitvat? It has 2 meanings. One meaning is that Shastras, the Brahman is the yoni or source of scriptures. The other meaning is scriptures are the source of Brahman. 2 meanings are there. Brahman is the source of scriptures and scriptures are the source of Brahman. What do you mean scriptures are the source of Brahman? Before that, I will go to the second sutra again. So whatever you see here in this universe, everything is coming from Brahman. Then we go to the classical example of snake and rope. In a dark room, there is a rope, coiled rope. You look at the rope and you mistake it for snake. Because there is rope, you mistake it for snake. So nothing can come out of nothing. Because there is Brahman, you mistake it for the world of myriad names and forms and diverse properties. Had there been no Brahman, you would not mistake anything for anything. And that is the idea. So in that sense also, all these things have been superimposed on what? Brahman. So Brahman is basically the basis, or to put a more philosophical language, the substratum of the entire universe. Without Brahman, no universe is possible. And that is why it is told, Janmadyasya Yataha. From where all this is Janma Adi, means born, sustained, and destroys. Shankaracharya explains that Adi. He says Adi means what? Birth, sustenance, and destruction. So sustenance and destruction are denoted by Adi, Janmadi. Yataha Asya Janmadi. From where the birth, sustenance, and destruction of this universe happens, that is Brahman. Then we go to Shastra Yonitvat. Now here automatically a question would arise. How is Shastra or scriptures the source for Brahman? Because automatically we know that Shastra or scriptures, here Shastra means Vedas. Vedas are very much in the realm of ignorance. All words, thoughts, speech, etc. are in ignorance. How can that be the source of Brahman? So the very idea that I am not this body, mind, and Prana, Buddhi, Anandamaya Kosha. That is given to me by the Vedas. Other than the Vedas, there is no text or no source which tells me this. Also, as the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad would say, that the same jiva is born again and again, and that there is a continuity between that jiva from one birth or one lifetime to the other, that there is a link between these two lifetimes, is told to us by the Vedas. Otherwise, we don't know this. That's a thing which is told to us by the Vedas. And so, the Brahma Sutras say that Shastra Unitvat, that this all the scriptures, they are the source of Brahman, knowledge of Brahman. So basically, knowledge of Brahman means the very idea of Brahman being there, we having some nature which is not tallying with what we apparently are. So our apparent nature, what we see or what we understand when we look into the mirror, look at the mirror, what we understand, that is not our nature. This idea is given by the Shastras. The opposite and the other meaning, that is because of Yonitvat. Onitvat means because of its being source. So because Brahman is the source of scriptures. Brahman is source of the scriptures, of course, that we can understand. Tarun is asking, could this be translated as Brahman is the origin of all Shastras? I told that a little while ago that it has two meanings. One is that Brahman is the origin of all Shastras, and that Shastra is also Yoni of Brahman. Okay. Now Kanchan has got one question. I will come to it later. Now, so this is the idea that Brahman is the source of all Shastras. That of course we can understand, because Brahman is the basis of the entire universe, and Shastras means words, and words are of course one of the first creation of the universe. So first it's called Pranava comes, and that's why the Mandukya Upanishad and also Katha Upanishad and many other Upanishads, they say that one has to meditate on Pranava or Om. Om one has to meditate because that is the first manifestation of Brahman. So Shastra Unitva, that way also this is there. And the fourth thing is Tattu Samanvayat. Tattu Samanvayat. So why we are talking about Brahman, etc.? Because it is in alignment with what other things are told in the Vedas. Means they tally or they match with what else is told in the Vedas. These are the first 4 sutras. In a very, very quick manner and very short manner, we have seen that. Of course, detailed explanations are there in the YouTube, so you can go and watch the video also, those of you who are attending these classes for the first time. And I strongly recommend that you watch the video, because even if you have attended classes on Brahma Sutras elsewhere, the approach itself is different. So it will be much easier for you to comprehend. One thing we need to understand, the first chapter is devoted to addressing differences in various philosophies. So India has mainly 9 philosophies. 3 of them do not follow Vedas. Rajesh Shekhar, B, can someone post YouTube channel name, please? Swami Narasimhananda Ramakrishna Mission. This is the name of the YouTube channel. So I can give the link also. So, the first chapter of the Brahma Sutras is devoted to addressing the differences in various thoughts, means various aspects of different schools compared to Advaita Vedanta. What are the differences? That is what is addressed there. And so, as I said, in the Indian tradition, there are 9 philosophical schools. The first one is, there are 3 which do not follow Vedas. They are called Nastika Darshanas. So Jainism, Buddhism, and Charvaka. And then you have Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa or Mimamsa, and Uttara Mimamsa or Vedanta. So the first chapter is completely devoted to tell about the different philosophical schools and how they are different from Advaita Vedanta. And Shankaracharya, in his commentary, he quashes or dismisses other schools of thought, and he establishes his school of thought. That is Advaita Vedanta. So here, what we were seeing is, for Sankhya, it's very important that the cause of the universe is Pradhana. Pradhana is an entity or a principle which is the cause of the universe. But according to Sankhya philosophers themselves, this Pradhana is not conscious. It is not Chaitanya. It is insentient or not conscious. So then Shankaracharya says, how can you make an unconscious principle to be the cause of so many things which are conscious? So that is, one might think, this is very logical. How did Sankhya people think of this, such a illogical thing? So it's not so easy. They definitely had some logic to it. So this is how it is quashed. So now we are studying that. And the 12th up to 12th Sutra, we are studying this, that how Pradhana is not. And repeatedly, there's something called Purva Paksha. That is, the person who is writing a commentary will oneself bring a thought or bring a standpoint, bring a point of the opposite school. And then after presenting it as though it is being presented by the opposite school, here Sankhya, and then will address that thought, that argument, and then dismiss it, quash that argument. So that Purva Paksha means the opponent party is what is presented in the commentary. This is how Indian commentarial traditions work. So here also Purva Paksha is presented, that is the, as though Sankhya philosopher is saying this, that why Pradhana is the cause of the universe. And in various ways it is presented, and every way or every time Shankaracharya brings up his own arguments and he quashes it. It's more like a mock court kind of thing. In law, there is something called mock court, mock trial. Now there are some questions are there. Why the commentary is called Adhyasa Bhashya if it is about Brahman and not Maya or Adhyasa? So this is the question of Kanchan. So Kanchan ji, and also for others also, it is called Adhyasa Bhashya because it is through this text that Shankaracharya proves that there is Adhyasa. There is something which is impossible, illogical, but still it is there. So it is about Brahman, of course, but he is talking about Adhyasa also. Like many people have this objection against Shankaracharya, that he is a Mayavadi. In Samskrita, Vadi means to argue for, or a person who argues for something. So if you say Shankaracharya is Mayavadi or Adhyasavadi, then it would mean that he argues for Adhyasa or Maya, which is not the case. He does not say that Maya exists or Adhyasa exists. What he is saying is that something which is so illogical, something which is so implausible or impossible, is still continually believed by every one of us. And it is natural and it is so-called commonsensical to believe like that. Conscious cannot be unconscious or not conscious. Not conscious cannot be conscious. But all the time in our day-to-day dealings, we are confusing one for the other. That is what Shankaracharya wants to say. And so he says Adhyasa. He gives 3 or 4 definitions of Adhyasa. And then those definitions are there. And that is why it is called Adhyasa Bhashya. Because once you understand that this is unreal, this is superimposition, then you have an inkling of what is real. So that is why it is called Adhyasa Bhashya. Dr. Raman is asking, if Panchakosha does not signify personality, Swamiji, then how is personality explained in Vedanta or Brahma Sutra? So one cannot completely say that Panchakosha does not signify personality. Panchakosha signifies personality as we understand it. So our apparent personality. Our true nature is Brahman, which is beyond name and form, which cannot do any, there is no action, no thoughts, no speech. All the Upanishads in various ways discuss that. Panchakosha is 5 coverings. So the personality which we see, including body, prana, mind, buddhi, anandamaya kosha, is essentially the 5 koshas. So the apparent personality, which changes from person to person, is the Panchakosha. The real nature which does not change from any person to any person, that is Brahman. That is Brahman. So there you don't have any coverings or you don't have any properties, because Brahman actually does not have any properties. We say Satchit, Ananda, etc. because we have we compare it with the universe, but of course not in the way of comparing one thing with the other, because Brahman alone exists. All other things are superimpositions on Brahman. So therefore, there is really no way in which you can describe Brahman, even using words. Sri Ramakrishna said that Brahman does not become defiled, or it does not become jhuta. Jhuta means when you eat something and it becomes defiled, you don't share it with other people. That is particularly a South Asian thing, particularly an Indian thing. It might not apply to other countries where they may as well eat from the same place. So from that sense, you cannot talk about Brahman, you cannot describe Brahman. So Brahman is never defiled by words, kind of. That is what Sri Ramakrishna says. So Brahman cannot be a personality because there is no difference. If you are Brahman, everyone is Brahman, means Brahman alone is. So the personality aspect which differs from person to person is definitely Panchakosha, but that is not your true personality, or that's not your true nature. Okay. I think here we have covered the questions. And so for all of you who haven't attended the earlier classes, please go to the channel and watch the classes. So there are 2 links given here. The one I sent is the playlist of Brahma Sutra lectures. The other one which Badarayana ji has sent is the link to the channel itself. So in channel you have to go playlists and go to playlist, and there you will find Brahma Sutra 2021, Brahma Sutras or God Formulas 2021. Please listen to that. And then you will have a more or less an idea where we are going. And as far as books are concerned, Swami Gambhiranandaji's translation on the Brahma Sutras, available from Advaita Ashrama. It's available on Amazon, Flipkart, everywhere it is available. You can get a copy. Or if you are more comfortable in Hindi, you can, there is one Hanuman Prasad Shastri's explanation published from Chaukhamba. So that you can follow. It has got Shankaracharya's Bhashya commentary. So we will be, as we have been seeing, we will be studying the Shankaracharya's Bhashya word by word meaning. So can you please post the links in WhatsApp also? Smriti, can you hear me?
Yes, Swamiji.
So please post the links in WhatsApp also, because this chat closes after this meetings. This fine observation Rajashekar has done. So anyway, we will definitely post the links. Don't worry. And the whole point is that this recording also will be immediately put on YouTube. The whole point is that Brahma Sutras is a simple text and one can understand it. There is Sanskrit wise, language wise, and as Shankaracharya's language is always simple, is very simple, and there is nothing in the text which deserves this bad reputation it has got. I think people don't want you to become mukta. That is why there is a conspiracy across the universe that you should not study. Otherwise, it is very simple. Okay, the whole point of these classes is to make you understand that. And again, Sivakumarji has put this Advaita Sharada, where you can look at the Bhashya. It's a wonderful website developed by Sringeri Shankaracharya Mutt, and where you can go through all the Bhashyas of Shankaracharya, his Prakarana Grantha, everything. But it's all in Samskrita. So people who can follow Samskrita can go there. If you want to have the text, they have done a thorough editing work. So the text is flawless as far as I have encountered till now. Maybe here or there maybe some mistakes, maybe there, but I haven't encountered any error. So that you can follow for following the text. But if you want explanation, then I gave you two books. And Chinmaya Mission has come out with a 2-volume explanation of, not now, some years ago, of the Chatursutri. But it is only for the Chatursutri. Afterwards, it is not there. Then Chaukhamba has a 3-volume book on Brahma Sutras, which has Shankaracharya's commentary, and also it has the commentary of Govindananda. Govinda. No, I think I forget the name of the person. I think it is Govindananda. Anyway, I have to check. So it is in Hindi. The translation is in Hindi, and it is by a person called Bhole Baba. So 3-volume work. It's wonderful. So that also one can go through. That also one can go through. It depends on whatever. And Kannada, Malayalam, Tamil, all have texts. Any comments on Japanese writers, Maeda translation of BS? So Kanchan, that I don't know. I have not gone through that translation. And also, I think that would become more academic discussion, which you can call me at any time. You have my number and we can have. But here, I think that would not be. The whole point of this class, as I again repeat again and again, is to make people understand that it is very simple. So let us not confuse or make it complicated saying that this particular translation discusses this sutra in this manner and that discusses. So Kanchan, you have to, please excuse me, you will have to call me separately, then we can discuss. I'm very open to, I will be happy to only discuss. I'm aware of that translation of Mayeda, but I have not myself gone through it. Maybe in bits and pieces I have studied, so I would not be, I'm not in a position to offhand comment on the quality of the translation itself. For that, I have to go and look at it in a different light. Okay, so also as you saw just now, you are free or please ask questions because please don't presume things or don't think that you have understood unless you have really understood things. And that's also something. Otherwise, also you can ask questions. You can post questions on the YouTube channel itself, or you can send me a mail. Mail ID you will get in the YouTube channel. And it's very simple, actually, narasimhananda@gmail.com. So no Swami, only Narasimhananda with a after R. Many people try commit that mistake. So, and also please keep your videos on during the classes, during the study, because it is really encouraging for me. it is, it might be a hassle for you, but like looking at so many people with, some people are also smiling. So it is, and also I get to know whether my jokes, which are quite hidden, have been caught by people or not, or it has died a very terrible death. All these things I come to know when I look at your faces. And also if somebody has not understood, like your very quizzical look, then I can try to elaborate on a particular point more. I see many people are there. So maybe next time we will try to start the thing by asking you to give a small introduction of yourself, because then that will become more human other than like talking to people who are just there in how do I know it's a avatar or it's a poster you have simply fixed like that. Like I see that Srinath Subramaniam. Of course, this is not your name because it's a male name and you are female, and there behind some guitars and all is there. Interesting. So yeah, so of course, let us get to know one another and we'll be very happy. Thank you for joining, because more and more people learning Brahma Sutras in a very easy manner without, again, some background will always help. But if you don't have any background, don't worry. You don't need any background, because I'm not going to talk in Sanskrita or I'm not going to talk in Latin, Greek, French, etc. So you don't need to have, though I am in Calicut also, I have not been talking in Arabic. So you don't need to have any separate knowledge. Whatever you know, A for apple, B for bat, etc., that is sufficient. So that is again one thing. And if you at any time feel that these books are quite frightening, please don't read them. So because the whole point is that you should not quit the classes midway. Last time also we saw that the first class there was a lot of enthusiasm, and then afterwards it simply dissipated. So please don't do that, because it's really not difficult. The logic will be again and again. The same thing might be discussed. Please bear with the person who wrote the Brahma Sutras, that is Maharishi Vyasa. He would definitely come to the point, but he is taking time. No, he did not know that after millennia people will use Zoom to study this Brahma Sutra. So he, just imagine, we write things even now people don't understand. So this poor fellow has written it 5,000 years ago. So give him some break. Okay, so he definitely will come to the point. And the whole idea is that ignorance is so difficult to transcend that the same thing has to be over and again told to us, hammered to us. The same objection is there with the Gita, same objection is there with the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, that they keep on telling the same thing over and again. If we were all so intelligent, why don't we understand the first time itself? That's the question for that. So we don't, because we don't understand it the first time, they have to waste their energy. Of course, I would say not much waste, but they have to expend their energy and tell it again and again. Open Bible, open any religious text. It's like that. Most of the Upanishads, almost all the Upanishads are like that. Because that's not because the teachers are wrong or bad. That's because the students are awful, terrible. So, because across millennia, people have told that this is Bandhana, this is, but look what we are doing. So, in fact, we have a bank called Bandhan Bank. We have there also, we are banking on Bandhana, so to say. So thank you for being here. And so what was the frequency, Smriti, of the classes?
Swamiji,
Huh? Smriti? What happened? What?
Fridays and Saturdays, 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Are you traveling or something?
No, there's some problem with my laptop mic, Swamiji, today.
Okay. Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, 9:30 p.m. to 10:30 p.m.
Okay. So unfortunately, we have to wait for another week for the next class. But let us hope. So yes, thank you very much. And so we'll call it a day or call it a night here. And then we will meet again next Friday at 9:30 p.m. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you so much, Swamiji. Namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thanks a lot, Swamiji. Great session.